Hello, everybody. Reed here. Put this thing. Reed here. How's it going, guys? I'm gonna wait a few minutes for a few people to come in, and we're going to talk about narcissism is a network today. We're gonna look at the Pied Piper. So let me put the music down a little bit. So I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in. Okay. What's going on, guys? I'm waiting till a few more people get in. Few more minutes, guys. What's going on, guys? I'm starting a few. For what? How's it going? Are you gonna speak up today? I don't. You want to be a part of this discussion today? It'd be very helpful.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Thank you for inviting me to the show.
You know what? I don't think I can do it. I don't have headphones. I can get the. Can you hear feedback?
No, I have. I'm wearing my headphones. So.
Oh, I gotta get my head. I gotta get me some headphones. Yeah. I do have some, but hey,
It's a very interesting topic, Doc.
yeah,
Again, after Dracula, the Pied Piper.
yeah. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. You know, one of the things I'm trying to get across on this conversation is that when you have this sick narcissist, that sick person in front of you, you're not dealing with this sicko. You are dealing with the sicko. You're not only dealing with that sicko in front of you that can harm you, uh, that sicko is attached to a energy. And that energy is the same thing all of our spiritual and religious leaders have been warning us about throughout human history. And whenever they encounter people who behave like that, they seem to run by the same script, you know? And they seem to do things about the same, with the same intentions and planning. And they do this ceaseless. You know,
Mhm.
if they're not actively targeting you, then they're taking a break because they're planning on doing it. So, what I'm trying to help everyone understand here is you have to think about what your ancestors, how they described how dangerous these people are, right? And you have to give them that much respect because the only solution to handling these people is simply not to play the game at all, is just to simply walk away. And that is to go no contact. That means don't have anything to do with them or even think about them. Because anytime you have any contact with them, you actually appear in their world.
Right.
And as long as there's a listening ear, they have a victimhood story to sell, but they can't latch on to the role of victim if they can never see you.
Doc, who controls the network? Is there a hierarchy there, or is it just a group of unknown people that we don't know about?
Yeah, it's a
Is
hierarchy based upon violence. And typically, the sickest narc or the oldest one, when they get old, they damage their children. They intentionally damage their children to prevent them from getting access to healthy people. And the children have a preference for sick people, people who were abusive and behave just like them. So it's an entire grooming process where they sort of filter the options for their child and only give them options that's harmful and even more harmful than they sit back and just watch the child suffer. um, the child is only there for their benefit, no different than a rag dial, a dial that sits um, on your dresser. No different.
this is very unfortunate. Who in their sane mind would make their own children suffer from a thing like this?
Yeah, that's why when you go back and you study very important spiritual leaders, their opinion is people who are um, locked in their lower selves um, behave like this, but there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with these things. It's how we label them, right?
Mhm.
So all these things, narcissists typically really ain't doing anything wrong. It's just behavior that we label as wrong, but that's just our opinion. You ask them, I didn't do anything wrong.
They,
And
they're
then
conditioned that way.
and then after going through this years and decades, you realize I think they really do. I don't. It's gonna. It's going. Okay. Remember the concept of yin and yang. I'm gonna tell you something that you probably don't know. You gonna blow your mind, all
Go
right?
ahead.
Remember the concept of yin and yang, right? You got yin on one side, and then you have yang on one side, right? You live in this world. It's only half the world, right? The other half is doing everything that you can't tolerate. And it's happening to everybody who don't ever want to be in those situations. And these two halves makes the whole system work. You have to have some dismantling process down here that removes everything. Otherwise, you can't have life because life will build up and everything will become cluttered. Everybody will live. If nobody died on the planet, you know how many people will be here?
A lot, maybe.
So when you have these human removal systems, they keep things in balance, right? You had your time, now your time is up, now you gotta go. Somebody else is coming along, right? Somebody you can't stay around here for too long, right? This
But
environment
they don't
is
have the right to pull a trigger, right?
you said
Nobody has a
what?
right to pull a trigger. Nobody has a right to pull a trigger on the other person, just making them, go away from the world.
I mean, that's what that okay, that's debatable now. It's
I
debatable
know.
now. See, that don't apply anymore. People are doing, you got the power, you do what you want. You got the power, you make your own reality.
And the
See,
interesting part is
my
even I've
reality
seen
is
movie. Yeah,
my reality is backed by my guns and my wallet. You're gonna force a reality down your throat. That's what they're doing here in the United States. They're gonna force a reality down everybody's throat. And you know what I'm gonna say? I wonder if it's possible. And you know what? It is possible. It is possible. We may be witnessing the end of a complete reality that we lived in. They may change it and say that don't exist anymore. It may come to an end. If it does, we live in their world. We don't live in that world anymore. That's the past. Past don't exist. We live in a world that these technocrats and the global elites are about to create from everybody. There's going to be two classes: the rich, and then the people who you can't use for anything. See, it's getting to the point where they don't even need you for labor anymore. And when they can't use you for labor, then you cannot be a slave. So, with the new technocrats, things that's moving in this direction where they're going, this priestly class is going to define reality for everyone else and then shove it down your face. They're going to have the power to do it too. Why? Because with the switch, the majority of the planet is going to be probably rendered useless. You can't govern uselessness. If the whole populations don't have any economic value, then what do you do when you call the police? You have no economic value. That's where we're going.
And this time is just around the corner. It's just here. We used to think that it was a fantasy, but it's already here.
That's why we are building our AI systems. We're going to be launching our platforms. I mean, we're going to get into the thick of this and everything because I think we see where this is going, you know. But what's interesting, so let's say here in this beautiful environment that they live in, you will live forever if you had the opportunity to, you know. But thank God everybody don't live forever. You get your time. You get your like 80 years. Do the best you can, then you go, right? So if you look at all the things that result in human suffering or human death, look at all the things in the environment that results in it. Let's bundle all of those things up together and put a bow around them, a big bow around all the things that damage and remove people from this environment. Well, collectively, this is the human removal system for the planetary human removal system. And it's a necessary part of the whole human experience to function, right?
Also, the concept of yin and yang.
Death is a part of life, and the suffering on the road to death is all subjective. It's all subjective, but it's necessary. So when you hear those cries, what do? Do you say, "Oh, baby, this is necessary"? This is the human experience. This is necessary. You just participating in the human experience. Death is a part of life. You say that to somebody who's actually getting killed. It seems like the experience is different. This doesn't benefit me anything. How does this benefit me if I'm the one getting poked and I'm the one in the game? I'm out of the game. No one's going to agree with that on the individual level. So you're biased. You live in your own delusional world because you're biased. You don't believe you're supposed to exit the game. That's you. That's your belief. Yeah, of course you're supposed to exit the game. Everybody exits the game. Why are you not taking it like a man? Why are you crying and whining and everything? Why everybody went through this? Why don't you just take it? Hey, I'm on the way out. It's like the whole experience. It's like they protest against the whole experience. But the experience is supposed to be a part of this whole process. That cognitive dissonance is too much. Too much. So here, inside the huge human removal system, you have particular type of objects like humans. And you have to be very careful about these humans because all of these humans have always throughout human history have been described as having certain magical powers. And those magical powers gave them the ability to allure you with it. I mean, they draw you in like a magnet. And some of these energies and some of these forces that these destroyers will have are so powerful that the person's individual willpower may not be strong enough to pull away from that gravitational force from these sick individuals. That's why narcissists always have to control the conversation. They always have to lead the experience. And they always have to put you and everybody in their world, because that allows them to put every torture device they have. They all get together and they sort of come up with ingenious ways of how to disguise it to make it not look like what it really is. So they come to you charming with a lot to say, right? Ingratiating. Oh yeah. When they appear in your world, they come and visit you, knowing that you're alienated, knowing that you're lonely, and then they purposefully look at what you need and then provide everything you need right there. Happy to it. While I'm here with you, I'll just go ahead and feed your ego and everything, and I'm gonna just feed this, and then I'm gonna leave. When I leave, you're gonna feel the rejection, right? Because you're gonna believe that I was gonna be here for a while, and you believe that all these efforts were true. So you believe that you have companionship now. You believe you have a partner. Well, all I'm doing is setting up the sparkling stuff so you to enter my torture device. So when they believe you care, when they believe the person is listening, when they believe the person is doing something in their best interest, those are the sparkling things. That's what they do to get you into their world, and then they prevent you from leaving by destroying all the things around you inside your world. So they have to destroy where you live. They have to destroy your relationship with your people, with family. They have to destroy relationship with coworkers, with friends, with bosses, employers, everything. They destroy every. They do not leave anything unturned. Anything. It seems there's another characteristics that they say traditionally in the spiritual literature, how persistent and thorough they are. These people seem like they're in the military because they never stop on the mission. They get on the mission and they never stop. Decades later, doing the same thing. Doing the same thing. So what all these people can't go to work, can't pay your bills, right? Can't stop talking about people. Can't stop gossiping. All of a sudden, when it comes to stalking someone, you're precise and you're motivated, you're methodological, and you're structured in your own time. Complete every option possible. You went ahead and did that. It seems to me that that's your real life. But when you come around us, you put on this mask, you try to fake like all of this stuff is going on. But it seems like you put your investments where your heart is at. Your heart is into targeting people and creating harm for your own satisfaction. You know. So so they create the sparkly stuff inside, and then the inside's a torture chamber. Again, I'm not a Christian, but Jesus' comments on he was just an expert. I mean, the best ever at helping you understand narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. He was the best ever. Um, and whenever he described these people, he didn't use flattering terms. He called them dogs, called them pigs, things like that. And he ignored them. He didn't give them any attention to them. I mean, he didn't spend time debating with them or arguing with them or try to make change with them. In that story where the devil took Jesus to the top of the mountain and showed him everything and all of his glory, the sparkling stuff, all the sparkling stuff. I'll give you all the kingdoms in heaven and everything that you can see. The only condition is that you had to bow down to me. Meaning you have to leave your world, you have to come into mine. And you get all of this. Those are the sparkling. What he said, man, get out of here. Turned his back on him. Get out of here. Didn't even give. And this is, I'm not a Christian. I'm not an expert on the Bible, but I don't know I don't know too many conversations with the devil and Jesus are talking face to face. It just seems like this is a climactic moment in the Bible, right? The two central figures. And this is how he does them. He dismisses them as if he's not even important at all. Didn't even answer his question. Never leave your reality. Because when you do, whoever's reality in, they can say anything about you and what you did And nobody can say you didn't because you never should have been there. Shannon Sharp, right? Shannon Sharp, multi-millionaire, retired 50-something-year-old man and everything in an 18-year-old's life. He went into an 18-year-old's world to get teenage romantic services. You're going to leave your reality where you are a Hall of Famer, you're a broadcaster, you're on television, you got your own, you have your family, you have your friends and all there, and you want to leave this world to go to a teenage erotica services world? Teenagers change every 15 minutes. What do you do? And you're going to go into a world that's constantly evolving? Doesn't make any sense. And what happened? 20 million?
It is very shocking that somebody as smart as Shannon fell for it.
Yeah, and then look how she described him. Hey, he busted into my world. He kept pursuing me. He kept doing this. He kept doing that. Doing this. Kept doing that in my world. He didn't describe. And then when in his descriptions, when he was sort of describing what she was doing in his world, anybody interested? She's 18. She do what she wants to. You never should have let her in your world. You're talking about you never should have let her there. She do what she wants. She's 18. What do you can't tell her 18 the teenager what to do? They gonna get brunch and do it anyway and everything. But you should not have let the 18-year-old in your world. Simple as that.
Maybe she was a Pied Piper in his life. So that brings us back to the topic, and I think you should start the topic.
Remember, it's the boundary. And then, okay, if this the case where she removed the money from him by playing a tune, she started playing a tune. She started playing a tune. He heard the tune. He didn't want his kids to hear. So he went ahead and paid, right? And she had the network behind her that's used for real. I'm not want to come, that's for people who are really in the system and stuff like that. And that system is blind. It works automatically. You get in there, it goes through, it just goes to and delivers justice automatically. It doesn't say whether or not the initial complaint was valid or not. No, it's a complaint, and now they decide. You don't decide. They decide on the back end, not on the front end. So, of course, that system, and after she said, hey, I'm retired, this community served me well. I mean, y'all really been nice to me in this community. And she was really honest about that. She played the game fair. She played it well. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't do anything wrong. I bet you he won't do that again. So let me see here. So here, narcissism is a network, and you better respect it. So I did the case of Dracula being in the 1800s as a figure that seemed to characterize all the traits of a narcissist and everything like that. Now I'm gonna go back even further and introduce this figure called the Pied Piper. And so let's look at this figure. Okay. And so the Pied Piper and how they basically seek to unalive your kids, And I would like to really encourage anyone who's dealing with this to get some help right away. You cannot deal with this alone when you're basically being attacked by a group. Okay, here's the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Okay, the Pied Piper was also known as Pan Piper, or the rat chaser of Hamelin. Now they describe him as a rat chaser. This legend dates back to the Middle Ages. So remember, Dracula was like the 1800s, and this is the Middle Ages. The earliest references describe the Pied Piper. The piper dressed in a multicolored clothing. All right. It's something about these characters like clowns and stuff like that, narcissist jokers and things like that. It expresses the duality that exists at that level of consciousness. It says that this is a very primitive individual, that he's actually dressed up as a character. And that's the problem. When the narcissist draws you from your reality into his or hers, you are repositioned from your level of consciousness all the way down to the bottom where they are. And then you appear to them in their world as a character. And so you're playing a role, and the role and the character you're playing was selected by them. And your behaviors and actions can be involuntary to a full extent because you simply only have the tools available to the character. So if you're playing the bad guy, you don't have good guy tools. You don't have bad guy tools. So if they manipulate into the role of you playing the bad guy, then you're going to select bad tools, which they filtered for you through that process. And you think that you arrived at a process on your own, but it was the grooming through the interaction with this sick person. That's why they say they multicolored and pie like clowns, because they have the ability to shape reality. You think it's this way, and they say, no, it's not that way. It's this way. Remember I told you if they go into a narcissist world, they have the right to change anything about the situation out of thin air, and it gives them a sense of like superpowers. Yeah. Look at the clothing, ambivalence, right? It can be this, it can be that, it can be this, it can be that, nothing structured. I think that represents the duality and the unforgiving nature of the narcissist. Okay. Oh, now he was a rat catcher. A rat catcher. Hired by the town to lure rats away with his magic pipe. Okay, magic pipe. That's the thing that makes the torture illuminate. Those are the sparkly lights on the outside of the torture device that he's trying to lure you into. Remember, the narcissist makes you believe that you have something of value when you really don't. And you believe you want to get access to the value that they're presenting there with the process of, but it's no value. It's only a torture device. Okay. When the citizens refused to pay for this service as promised, he retaliated by using his instruments of magical power on their children, leading them away as he had the rats. So look here, the plot, look, 1284. Okay. So let me just show you some of these pictures here. And so here's this clown here. And the same thing, these like figures present this way. Present this way. So the most important thing here is that, okay, so in here, let me just go through the story again. It just so happens that I don't know the whole story all the way through it. I don't want to misquote the story. But the people in the town said, wait a minute. I think he may have dropped all of these rats off. And I think he purposely infested the town so that he can come in with the solution. And rats don't follow music? I mean, how does rats follow music? Well, they must be his rats, right? So this dude, basically, he infested our town. Then he came and charged us to infested the town. Isn't that exactly what these sick people do? Narcissists, mainly narcissists, but also psychopaths, not so much psychopaths and sociopaths, but narcissists create the drama for you in the background and then appear on the other side of the story as the one who's come up with the solution. And the solution is what you did. It's these sick people. But the story sounds so much about the dilemmas that you always get into with these sick people. So they refused to pay him. Man, they refused to pay him. So it's okay. He came back. He stood on the edge of town, started playing his tune. The children, they got up out of their beds. Yep. And they all left town, and they are never seen again. So why did the story end that way? And how did this one person manage a whole town full of children? Why? His network. Right? The narcissist in front of you is a clown. Like this dude. Clown mode. Like this dude. Right? And how is he able to influence all of these people? I have a clown that I work with. And in the background, he's been able to influence a lot of people like this. You say, how? Well, his network. His network has such an influence in the background because it targets anybody who would speak up for those children. So those children who are being lured by this piper also have other people who are connected to the Pied Piper, who target them, who hurt them, who threatens them. And these children most likely came to the best decision. It's best if I just go ahead and die. And this is what these sick people put young children in. And so when you're running across these people, it's very important that you understand that, hey, all the greats describe this as danger, danger, danger. You need to help understand how these people operate because they can bring you significant harm. Significant harm. Let me see here. Okay. Now, in the modern day version, okay, in today, what would a Pied Piper look like today? And if you saw a Pied Piper today, then, hey, you better recognize the network behind the Pied Piper, right? And so I saw an example of this would be parental alienation. Parental alienation is when the sick narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath turns the child against the loving and real parent. Now, in this situation, where unfortunately you become enmeshed with a sick narcissist and married or children of co-parenting, they don't co-parent. The child is only an object to get to you. And they will sacrifice that child. They will torture that child psychologically. They will do whatever they can to that child to get what their means. And there is no help, very little help in our society for this. These little children and these little people are forced to stand in front of malignant and toxic and sick narcissists by themselves without our society, our community, no support, no medical system. These children are all there by themselves. And it's disgusting in 2024 that our society don't protect its most young from these sick people. And I'm gonna give you some data that suggests that what I'm saying is the truth. So let's look through here. Parental alienation. So here's my question on Grok. How does the child programmed by the narcissistic parent to alienate the other parent? So for example, in the Pied Piper here, how did the Pied Piper program the children to do that? Okay. Well, the short-term answer is emotional and psychological torture until the child breaks. That's it. They psychologically break the child. Let me give you what I'm saying. I didn't begin to understand this until I began to sort of understand the concept about the stages of death, right? Now, when you grow into who you were meant to be, or to your higher self, or the dreams that you have, the ambitions that you have down on this world, you grow into who you really are, right? Now, if that growth is stunted, then you only grow as much in your ego, right? So, but if you only live in your ego and not in your higher self, then that's the first death. The second death is when your body dies. The third death is when someone says your name for the last time. And the final death is when someone thinks about you for the last time. And after that last person thinks for you the last time, there's no more traces of you being down here ever. You're completely gone. So in the case of parental alienation, you see parents and victims describe a death of a child. before the sick narcissist began to abuse and unalive their own child in an effort to gain up or control the situation or target the other parent, they describe the child as not living anymore, that who they really were is no longer there. And so the parents and the family members of children who's been parental alienation don't even recognize the child anymore. They're gone, you know. But how is this done? A narcissistic parent may program a child to alienate the other parent through a process often linked to parental alienation, where the child is manipulated to reject or distance themselves from the non-narcissistic parent. And these sick people, they come in acting like they're saints and like the child, that they're just so enmeshed with the child, and oh, the other parent is the problem. And they get people to support them. They have their friends, their families, and it is awful. And it's a huge problem in the African American community, and particularly on the South Side. It's a huge problem. This can occur through various psychological and emotional tactics, often subtle, insidious, aimed at controlling the child's perceptions and loyalties. Manipulation through emotional control. Yeah. Distorting the child's perception, undermining the other parent's role, exploiting the child's vulnerabilities. Look at this, enmeshment. The narcissistic parent fosters an overly close, dependent relationship with the child, blurring boundaries and making the child feel that they owe their loyalties exclusively to the narcissistic parent. Yeah. Reinforcing alienation through behavior. Look, rewarding rejection of the parents, punishing defiance, modeling behavior, psychological mechanisms at play, cognitive dissonance. Look, Stockholm syndrome, splitting. Yeah. The guilt and confusion can really be devastating for these victims. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, and so we see the Pied Piper, all right, this figure, this narcissist with the hidden network where he's able to manage a disproportionate number of victims, and they all seem to be programmed and brainwashed by him, and they voluntarily leave the people they love, their true parents, for this structure that's with the flashy lights and things like that. This process is done, a very brutal process of manipulation and things like that. Now, let me look here. I was trying to look for evidence of Pied Pipers being on the South Side, right? So I said here, how many children are murdered on the South Side of Chicago over the last 10 years? And how does those numbers compare to other parts of the state? So we're going to look at the children on the South Side of Chicago. See what happens there. Exact number for child murders, specifically on the South Side of Chicago over the last 10 years. What is not fully available? Children getting murdered are not fully available. They can get your taxes. I mean, you get a ticket, they get every ticket dollar. I mean, they be on you with tickets. Ticket made to me, the ticket made is the ticket police is probably the let me get back to this. Okay. All right. Chicago South Side child murders. 10 years. Okay, the South Side of Chicago, Inglewood, Little Village, Garfield Park have been disproportionately affected by violent crime, including homicides of children. A society or a community that does not protect its children, mm, okay, citywide, according to a 22 CBS report, at least 276 children aged 16 and younger were shot in Chicago from January 21 to January 22, with 43 under 13. 276 children shot in 1 year. 35, 24, 30. Okay, half, close to half of these were on the south side. Okay, long-term trends. 1 in 5 homicides. 20% of the people murdered in Chicago are children. See, and what happens with these children? Are they being murdered by people within their family? Is it outside their families? But this is very concerning. And how do we help these families and things like that? Comparison. Oh, okay, I don't want to look into it. Okay, I think I'm done with that. Okay. So you can see the degree of violence, and it's like there's a war on the south side of Chicago that's targeting children. And this amount of murders of children every year is very concerning. And it's like no one does anything about this. It's like there's no leadership on the south side of Chicago to do anything about this. So where are all the leaders at? Where are the pastors at here? Where are all the pastors at? Where are the community leaders at? So when you are in front of these people, just remember it's a very brutal network, and they don't have any. There's no concern for your well-being at all. So instead of looking at them as an individual, then I'm going to encourage you to sort of look at it the same way Jesus did, and use his words and look at his perspective when you're dealing with these sick animals. And so I have a here. Oh, that's something else. I was going to see if something else. Let me see here. Okay. Here, I just Googled. Okay. Okay, here. Do not give dogs what is holy, right? See, you call that person in front of you by his or her name, right? They're really a dog, right? If you looked at them from that perspective, you're idealizing them that much, and you're not seeing reality of what's happening from you. These people are awful, and do not throw. Okay, don't give y'all what is holy, meaning no contact. Everything that exists at that higher consciousness should be reserved with people in that higher consciousness. You should not go down there and deal with these people. And do not throw your pearls to pigs. Don't give anybody any advice. Don't try to help them out. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to come up with solutions. Why? They're going to trample on them underfoot. They're going to destroy everything, and then they're going to attack you. I don't know what else you got to say. If Jesus said that dealing with these people, and that's dealing with the Pied Piper. That's his advice on dealing with the Pied Piper. This is the dog. This is the pig. Stop dealing with this person as if they're human. They don't have a consciousness. So that means they're locked and in tune within their ego. So they're unconscious. They can only interpret the reality that the ego is programmed to give them. And the ego is programmed by the sociopaths around them. So they are really in a tough situation. They are locked in a chamber inside of a delusion. No, they're inside of a delusion inside of a chamber. Anyway, so now that's the Pied Piper. Now remember, there's this structure behind him that's managing all this, that's grooming kids and all that stuff, that's getting these things for him. I thought he was like Pied Piper's like Epstein, right? Um, well, okay. So let me see what I think. I got some information what Jesus said that may refer to the support group or the network. This is what we have here. All right. Yeah. Again, I'm not a Christian and stuff, and I just Googled the stuff. I remember Jesus was fighting with some people called the Pharisees and Sadducees, and I don't know too much about it. But look, Jesus quotes on the Pharisees and Sadducees. I didn't even know how to spell the names, right? Okay. Jesus often criticized the Pharisees and Sadducees for their hypocrisy and legalism. See, the Pharisees and the Sadducees would be that network behind the Pied Piper that's organizing all these things for his victims. And I guess if the individual killing kids on the individual who kills a child on the south side of Chicago and basically gets away with it is able to have their privilege because the priestly class in the community and neighborhood is turning a blind eye. And I think that's what Jesus is saying. All of you community leaders and you people who sit on your high horse inside your temple, looking down on very poor people who are suffering, and you have like what Jesus said, your hypocrisy, your legalism. Well, we can't do this, we can't do that because they have rights. They have this and that, highlighting their outward displays of piety, right? While lacking genuine righteousness. He warned his followers to be wary of their leaven or influence, right? And emphasized that true righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees. I mean, you're going to have to do better than that. You're going to have to think about these other people. You just can't ignore their cries or their suffering. So I think that's that priestly class that Jesus was talking about. And I think that's the people who basically manage the communities now seems to be comfortable with this. So it'll be interesting. So Fawad, how you doing? Any thoughts, buddy? Oh, you may not hear it. Let me see. Let me see if I have any questions. Let me see. Comments and questions. Okay, great. I hash. Hey, buddy, thank you so much. Thanks for being my main supporter, bro. Okay. Hey, Dr. Liv, how you doing? Hey, Dr. Liv, how you doing, buddy? Okay. Here, we talk about protecting kids from predators, but ignore the ones who come disguised. Can I steal that from you? Can I say it's mine? Because I'm surely going to say that. I need to say that out loud. Okay. Doc, they lack accountability. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Hey, Doc. What's up behind it? Okay. Why is the Pied Piper legend such a powerful metaphor? All of the elements of that story seems to fit, even down to the clothing, right? The clothing was like a clown, meaning nothing structured. It can change. Hey, the narc can change things in a moment, anytime if you're in this world. So I think everything fit. He focused on rats. Who focused on that? Who focused on rats? So I think it sets. I think it's still in the 1600s. Their way of helping educating the community and their culture about the dangers of these type of people. You know, why are children and teens especially vulnerable to the narcissistic work? Ego development. Yep. We're all born with a primitive ego, and it's the people around us that forms the ego for us. And then we internalize what they're teaching us, and they internalize all their values. You say you are because the people around you said you were. Had they said something different, you would have believed that. In fact, they can say almost anything to get you to believe it. In fact, the sickest of them intentionally instill the things in you that gives them an advantage with you every time. Right? Like you don't supposed to say that to your mom. You know, you don't supposed to talk to me like that. I'm your dad. You're supposed to be taking care of me. I'm your mama, or I'm your sister. I'm your brother. You're supposed to be taking care of me. I'm your wife. You're supposed to be taking care. I'm your child. You're supposed to be taking care of me. They fed you and all those things, and they programming you to go that way. So their ego is still forming and stuff, and that's why it's not good to be engaging with in people's lives when they're still in development. Uh, Let me see here. Next, okay. Hey, T Jam, who are the modern day Pied Pipers leading to our country's astray? I put that in Grok in the AI search engine, and then I said, can I make a list of these people? You know, uh, make a list of these people. I think Diddy is one of them, right? You say Diddy and how his network. I just over Diddy's reign over hip hop. I think it just perverted the whole space because I didn't think any of the stuff was actually enjoyable to listen to. It wasn't like the music. See, the music of the previous generations, you're still playing that stuff and you hear it played all over the world. But for Diddy's music, nobody played that whole generation of music has been ignored. It hasn't been accepted as music that other people will listen to. I remember going to other countries and you hear Stevie Wonder, you hear Diana Ross, you hear all these things and stuff like that. But you go to the other place, you don't hear this stuff. And I think it's a perversion of that. I think he walked the whole music industry off the cliff. And he's definitely has a network behind him because he didn't get there. He seems to have inherited a position, you know. Okay. Next. Okay, my buddy Felipe. How's it going, Felipe? How's it going, buddy? Hi, Doc. You saying how the narcissist is. I can see a lot of person behavior that describes his life. Hey, remember? Hey, Felipe. I don't know how many narcissists we were dealing with, man. We had, in fact, when Felipe and I first started building our application and everything, we had an infestation of narcissists in our company. It was bad for a while. It was really bad. I know you remember that, buddy. Um, Okay, and then I think that's if there's not any other questions, I think I'm gonna call that a date for now. Fawad, did you have any questions for me, buddy?
Hey, Doc, great session again.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I
Okay,
hope it's
yeah, sure. Today, I learned something really new. I always thought, I always thought about the Pied Piper story. In the Pied Piper story, I thought it was the people who were the real villain, that they did not pay the Pied Piper in the first place for taking out the rats, right? But after today's session, this has given me a really new food for thought, that the infestation of the rats was actually caused by the Pied Piper. But that was a
well,
very
okay,
original take on this
okay,
whole
okay.
thing.
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. They didn't actually say that,
They did
right?
not. They did not.
But
Yeah.
the mayor said it. He said, "We're not going to pay for this because you're the one who brought the rats in." And he said, "It wasn't me."
Oh,
Right?
that part we missed.
So
Yeah.
that's the same thing with the narc, right? They caused the problem and then they come to you for the solution. So the dynamic from listening to the conversation between these two and watching and knowing that this is not, then I say to you, oh man, I bet you he did that, because that's what the argument is always about. You're the one that caused this in the first place. So I can listen to the reactions, and this is the 1600s. Wait a minute. The gist of the conversation was preserved over like close to 500 years. He's saying the same thing. You create the problem, now you come trying to bail me out, and I'm not going to pay you for this. And what did he do? Consistent with these sick psychopath narcissists, he destroyed other people who had nothing to do with it. And they were children. So look at the options. Either way, it's not good. If he intentionally infested the town, then came there to get payment, and they found that he was lying, he doubled down on his reality. Like I told you, those narcs do. They never go into your reality. Never, right? And so what am I going to have to do to you two because you did this? There's when from the narcissist, because they're locked into the ego, they're entombed within the ego. That's why it's called the deaf. And that's why they call them not alive, because when their ego said that they lying, he's really lying. So even though he came there, if I was him, he can't. Remember, Dracula is talking to Dr. Van Helsing, right? In the movie Dracula. And he's saying, okay, you're not going to get her because she's under my influence. And then Dracula say, hey, I know where you sleep. I'm going to have to go and poke you in the heart to get her back, right? So they're talking about this. So Dr. Van Helsing and Dracula was saying to him, hey, I understand the deal. You cannot fool me. If I'm in that story with the Pied Piper, I know you did this because this is what you guys always do. You caused the problem and you showed up like you had the solution. And then your ego really believes it, right? His ego says he did this, therefore it's real. And that's what I'm saying. He's entombed. So even from the conversation there, you can see elements of his encasement within his ego, even in the conversation. That's 500 years ago. But you read it in the concepts, the structures underneath it seems to be matching up very well, you know. And that is that he believes 100% that he was owed that money, and his solution was a solution that only a narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath can have, because the solution was to end the life of children who had nothing to do with this. So even if you did or you didn't, that would not be the option. If you did infest the town, they didn't pay, say, okay, man, I'm sorry. Okay, get out there. But no, I'm gonna say you lied and then kill everybody's kids. Now, if he didn't, and then he really did get the figure out and he did it, that would not be the solution. To kill innocent people wouldn't be the solution. So even if he was a narc with very limited cognitive capacity or memory problems or attention, like this is 1600, it can be all of them, malnutrition and stuff like that, he may not have the capacity to actually understand what he was doing. So he could have been cognitively impaired, not a narc, but still the cognitive impairment would have made him do something like that. So it's something wrong, something fundamentally wrong with this character. Fundamentally wrong.
I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but this is exactly what is going on in today's world. Some places creating a problem somewhere else and coming out to bail them out. So yeah.
Man, yep.
Great session, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, great, guys. Let me see. Okay, I think that's it for today. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, and I hope this was very helpful for you. So if you are dealing with narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath, please get help right away. You're dealing with a team that's coming after you, and they share information. They have secrecy. They're doing everything behind your back. Um, good luck, and then I'll be launching our platform soon. It's called Genesis AI platform. It's going to be magnificent, amazing. We're going to be launching an online clinic soon, so that's coming soon. So I'm going to have all my patients basically register online, and then I'll be able to do your assessments online, and then me and you can sort of determine what hospital you want to go to. I'll also be opening a walk-in clinic where I'll be available at that point, and also be available during video conferences. So it's a pleasure. Weed out, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care, guys.